I believe that there are mysteries, and that it is impossible to parse all of God's movements by applying to them the substantially resourcelessness of our own minds. I don't, I mean, ask me a simple one. Can I account for the 5-year-old who, before we finish tonight, will have fallen in from a rooftop and be killed? No, I can't account for it. On the other hand, I don't think that the abundance of incidents of that kind are sufficient grounds for rejecting revelation.
Well, I'm not sure I would either, but I'm not sure that that addresses the question. But let's move from the theological to the scientific, which is what Michael suggested I could do. I'm trying to figure out now what it is about evolution that you find so intellectually challenging, that you reject it. Every single major scientific development over the past many decades that could have demonstrated that evolution was fundamentally flawed, every one of them proves quite the opposite. You all remember Gregor Mendel's bean experiments, and in terms of experimenting on inherited characteristics. We all studied that in high school. Carbon dating that shows that the Earth is billions of years old. Had it proved that it was very young, we would have had many evenings at the bar to discuss that. And even DNA research that shows that the DNA in chimpanzees and gorillas and humans is so close to being the same that we must have had a common ancestor. With all this evidence on one side, what line of science contradicts those powerful lines in support of our argument?
Well, what is in my judgment, has happened is a rejection of the materialist explanation of everything that has happened. At the time that Darwin spoke, he seemed to give us a facile explanation for a lot of phenomena which we couldn't otherwise explain. But I think the developments of the last 100 years have given us a perspective, and that perspective makes increasingly unrealistic the notion that there is a materialist explanation for everything that's happening around us. Remember that you're saddled with some heavy baggage. Mr. Dawkins says, we have a prior commitment, a commitment to materialism.
Well, Mr. Dawkins isn't here, so we're not yet saddled with him.
Sorry?
He's not here. We are not saddled with him. Well, I'm just asking you a question about science, which might make you more comfortable than the questions about theology.
You better practice the excommunicative arts.
Well, one final question. 15 years ago, before Pope John Paul II made his most recent pronouncement, he said this: "Sacred Scripture wishes simply to declare that the world was created by God." He continued, "The Bible does not wish to teach how heaven was made, but how one goes to heaven." Do you have any fundamental problem with that?
None whatever.
Well, neither do I, and I would once again offer you the same opportunity offered earlier by Michael to join this side and to separate the two kingdoms.
Thank you very much. Professor Johnson. Professor Johnson. Professor Johnson, it's your opportunity to be, or opportunity, if you wish to think of it that way, to be interrogated by the opposition team. Who would like to start?
Mr. Johnson, your career seems built on picking alleged fleas off of the dog of evolution, but when it comes down to picking the fleas off, you find they're just pieces of lint, not really serious problem for the dog. But you never seem to want to discuss your dog. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about religion. Talk about Noah's Ark, for example. Do you believe that there were dinosaurs on Noah's Ark, at least baby dinosaurs? Or
I don't make any reference to the Bible or biblical authority. I don't deal with that at all, and I really don't have an opinion about it.
You don't have an opinion. Okay, well, let's say that this book, which is widely distributed in creationist circles and used in schools, home schools, and religious schools at this point, has nothing to do with me. Well, I'm going to ask you about why you don't do something that those of us on this side do. Here's a little picture, man and a dinosaur. Adam wasn't scared to watch dinosaurs eat because all the creatures ate plants and not meat. Now, do you think that's good biology, number one? I
do not, and in fact, I have said on many occasions and have urged persons of the conservative Christian community to put aside the whole Bible issues, and let us ask the question, what is actually known from scientific evidence as opposed to materialist philosophy about the claims of evolution?
You're a great lawyer, but you didn't answer the question. I want you to know, to tell us if you think that this is not so silly and dangerous kind of ideas to plant in the hands of high school students that in fact the Flintstones are some kind of documentaries. Yeah. That's pretty dangerous.
Yeah. The kind of thing, I haven't seen this, the kind of thing you're encouraging certainly is silly, just almost as silly as the work of Richard Dawkins. And is damaging.
Professor Miller.
And I mean that, you see, and the work of those who say that material processes can explain the entire living world.
Go ahead, Ms. Scott.
No, that's all right.
Okay, I'm sure it will surprise no one. I have one more chart. And we have heard over and over again that there are gaps in the fossil record, there are missing forms, and it's been implied the only reason they could be there is because evolution is not the explanation. I want to show you a very famous gap. It's a gap between mesonekid mammals, land-dwelling carnivores that lived, 55, 60 million years ago, and archaeocetes, which are the oldest whales. We know from skull and dentition patterns that, as it turns out, these whales are very closely related to mesonekins. And my colleague directly across from me, Michael Behe, once wrote, if random evolution is true, there must be a large number of transitional forms between mesonekid and the ancient whale, and much in the way that Dr. Berlinski has said, he said, where are they? Well, they're right here. 2, 3. There turn out to be 3 transitional forms, including a complete skeleton named Ambulocetus natans, which turns out to be an extraordinary intermediate. And here's the point that I want to ask you. It turns out that all these fossils are found in the area where the Indus River empties into the Indian Ocean. They're all in the right sequence, and furthermore, they form a transitional series. Now, here's what I want to know, Phil. You keep saying, where are the transitional forms? Paleontologists dig them up. What's the matter with them?
Here's what the matter is. The most important point to me is that the fossil record is most conclusively un-Darwinian just where it's most complete, in marine invertebrates. And that is why it is shocking that one finds that where it's the most incomplete and where the imagination can have free play, that's where you get the examples. We don't know that these form a transitional sequence at all, and you don't know how it could have happened and by what mechanism. And if you do, I wish you'd publish the paper on it, because I'd love to see it torn to bits.
Hang on for a second. I don't want anyone to miss the point. Dr. Behe said, where's the transition? Philip Gingerich and others dug up not 1, not 2, but 3 transitionals.
Are they transitionals? We don't know that.
You know, I would think in a fair fight, you'd say, you know, darn it, we were wrong on that one. You guys got the evidence. Okay, here's one for your side. But what's happening is...
I can quote to you from an article in Science says that they are not. Cannot be placed in an ancestor descendant to sequence.
No. Well, we're going to have to miss it. Thank you very much,
I'm done.
Professor. You're done. You're free. Thank you very much.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Ms. Scott, it's your turn. And who would like to begin the questioning? Mr. Berlinski.
Dr. Scott,
all right, go ahead.
Dr.
Mr. Behe, you're champing.
I asked the captain. He said okay. In the recent fundraising letter of National Center for Science Education, you state that when the ACLU wants to know what's this intelligent design stuff, we're there to inform them that it is indeed a religiously based alternative to evolution, completely outside of science. Okay, now let me give you a quote from an astronomer named Fred Hoyle, who discovered things called resonance energy levels for carbon, oxygen, and helium, and found that they are arranged exactly as they must be to support life. Hoyle wrote, "A common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a superintellect has monkeyed with physics as well as with chemistry and biology. The numbers one calculates from the facts seem to me to be so overwhelming as to put this conclusion almost beyond question." I have 2 questions. How is his concluding intelligent design from the facts of astronomy different from concluding intelligent design from the facts of, say, the bacterial flagellum? And second, are you going to sic the ACLU on Fred Hoyle?
Fred Hoyle is a distinguished astronomer, as you pointed out. When he speaks about biological phenomena, I would not say that he speaks ex cathedra.
He was speaking
as a matter
about
of fact,
astronomy.
one of the statements that Fred Hoyle made with Chandra Wickramasinghe is that actually insects are smarter than we